Chapter 25, Orb of the World. Where the buffalo once roamed, and the mammoths are stuck dead in black tar, and sloths are assaulted by dire wolves, and saber-toothed tigers bite deep in the black sediments of Lugubrium. May Day, 2013, Los Angeles. On the other side of the river, there wasn't a tree I could recognize, any more than the smells buffeting in the open windows. It was all absolutely new to me. All the meanings made up north seemed like useless fantasies, and the meanings made in these knobby hills were unknown. In the bushes, things were eating and being eaten. Human justice and all the constructs of reality were an infantile joke in the face of the inextricable natural procession, sped up in tropical musk, that I knew in time would eat us all, whether I thought it good or not. Hairpin turns cut through low, steep, verdant hills, with green, grassy shoulders in the straight. In many places, the shoulder was eroded, and there was a 4-foot drop at the edge of the pavement. Some eroded parts bit into the roadway a couple of feet. Sometimes these were marked with a beer can or a rag, sometimes not. There were curb-height bumps instead of stop signs. A missing bridge was marked only by a line of baseball-sized stones, forcing us off the road to ford a stream. The hot air and diesel exhaust flooded in the windows with the occasional insect. Kenworths roared as they passed us, and Bill cursed them, and our all-too Catholically wimpy motor. Right before Palma Sola, Dick, Peg, and the Dutch math teacher found and passed us. The little town had grown to 1,000 palms loaded with coconuts. Sitting in an open-walled thatched restaurant, the fat-faced teacher and his headachy wife saw us pass. They wiped their mouths and stood up. The road wound its way through low bush and cane fields. Facing us was the bold promontory jutting out into the crashing waves, and above, the green-black volcano with tiny palm trees, frozen in the smooth, constant wind, dotted up the slopes. On the flats, we crossed a bridge over a sluggish river, coming out of a mangrove swamp, and then began the gradual ascent up to the mouth of heaven, which on maps is obscenely called Boca Andrea, Andrea's mouth, forcing Bill, once he'd seen the place, to revise it to a more fitting name he found on the map, Boca del Cielo, mouth of the sky, or heaven. A mouth wide open to the round cumulus clouds, not so much caressing as consuming the volcano as they traveled on, focusing moving beams of oblique shafts of the afternoon sun. At the base of the volcano, across and down the road from the mouth of heaven, was a small tienda with a porch overlooking the sea. Dick's large, fat, man-slaying hands came a-rolling into the tienda's pullover, holding the thin, finger-grooved steering wheel of his large, flat, horizontal plane of a Dodge Polaro wagon that averaged all the bumps into a rhythmical undulation, and he stopped with all his dust coiling up around him. We pulled in behind and all sat in our seats, watching Dick walk up the temple-like steps and shake hands awkwardly with a much too handsome blonde man, as if they had a convenient sort of friendship that had all been forgotten long ago, or so they both hoped. They sat at a little red wooden table with the Beer of the Rising Sun sign painted on it, looking pained and polite. And Bill said, "Dick says this guy is Polish. My ass. What Polish guy emigrates to Mexico on his own and ends up knowing Dick? Look at his wife. She's Mexican. The older boy looks about my age. That guy looks like my dad's age. I bet you $50 he was in the war, and he doesn't know dick because he did good things in the war. And he's here, and not the States, where you know he'd rather be, because what he did in the war was too bad for Main Street, US of A. So, we all started calling him the Polish war criminal. There was an air of collusion as the two spoke. The bus was making the exhausted clicking and hissing sounds old gas vehicles make at the end of a long run. Bill hung his arms over the wheel, watching his dad's old war buddy Dick smile his pained smile as he talked with this incongruously handsome war criminal. They looked like two men very conversant in the ways of a wicked world, talking as if all kindness and cooperation were some lost Atlantis of the soul, a mythical, probably apocryphal city of refuge, off on some fabled hill that Dick and the war criminal would never be allowed to visit if they wanted to go, which they didn't. We all sat, sticking to the seats, as the metal roof expanded in the heat, going tick, tick, tick. They parlayed about business, or old times, or logistics, or empty small talk, who knows. But what they were actually talking about, without anyone realizing it, was the wildlife refuge, where Bill and I would run off feral and try to cut the 10,000-year-old urban umbilical cord in this wild land of large reptiles and indigenous farmers and chiggers and hooting birds and grinding insects and the general hum of the universe, whose breath of the aqua gulf was crashing on porous black lava rocks in the original old in-out, in-out, in-out as the bus ticked.